the infamous man with the hat, we will see if the wonders of technology work. Give me 2 seconds as I make my surface project correctly. Yes, you can guess what game I'm working on, can't you? Yeah. Subtle, don't you think? Subtle. Right, so I had this kind of joke with Jake Tucker, who works with Dan and helps to arrange speakers on various things, that I could do a talk on anything. He said I could do a talk on AAA is dead, long live mobile, and then do an opposite talk of mobile is dead, long live AAA. And I said, yeah, that'd be no problem. I didn't know that Lionhead was going to close. Anyway, so if you happen to be from Lionhead, commiserations, I remember going there in the very early days when I was at, I think, called Wireplay, when Demis was still around and all this kind of stuff. And yeah, very sad times. But I honestly think this is one of those, this is a good example of why this is a great place to be. Think about all of the teams, all of those people who made great games in this area, and the skills, the talent. I've actually been living in this area for about 29 years. I know, I don't look that old. All right, I do look that old. But in particular, in the 18 years I've been working in games, I've had about 12 meetings in Guildford. I've met Guildford companies everywhere in the world except Guildford. It's only the last year that I had 6 of those meetings. So I think things are changing. I think Guildford's actually really starting to talk to each other, which is great. So I'm going to try and talk about great games. So this is a good example of why console is dead. Hang on. Anyone playing this? It's awesome. But it's not without flaws. I'll give you an example, okay? Oh, by the way, I've got about 40 slides to do in 20 minutes. Just warning you. Yeah, 5 gig patch update on day 1. Is that a good thing? Is that a good experience? Are we all delighted to get a 5 gig patch update? Excited? Woo! Yeah, exactly. And I've actually tried to... When you start a console game, how much time do you spend pressing X? Yeah, see, I don't even have to explain. You guys know what I mean. How much time do you have to set the border of the screen? It's 16:9. We know how big the screen is. Why are we making people do these things? It's because in console we can be lazy. For example, day 2 patch. I mean, is this a good experience? Is this what we want? Now, okay, let me be fair. Who likes DLC? No? But there's this amazing stuff you can get. It's great. It's going to extend the game and you don't have to pay twice as much as you originally paid for it. So there's a thing in mobile that we learned about 5 years ago. Don't sell levels. Do you know why you don't sell levels? Anyone know why you don't sell levels in a mobile game? No one buys it. Exactly. There's a reason why no one buys it, because they cannot expect what it's going to give them that's above what they've already got and spend more money on. How would you know that this game is so great that I'm going to spend all this extra money on a thing I don't yet know about that's going to be just the same as the thing I've already got? Why would you do that? And this is the new model of DLC in console. Anyone think console's got a great hope yet? Anyone positive about console? All right, those who said no, were you Lionhead? You know where I'm going. Okay, so let's look at some other stuff on this. Get a game add-on? Only another $19.99 to get the triple pack. I don't even know what the triple pack is. So, does anyone know? Can you tell me why I should have a triple pack? I mean, it's non-refundable and returnable. That's the sales pitch. Yeah, where? Go on, tell me where I can get free. Yeah. Oh, you get 3. Okay, so 3. Oh, yeah. We don't know that's true. It might be a trident we get. That would be triple in some way. But, you know, yeah, anyway, so you kind of get where I'm coming from there. We're not really enticing and exciting people. But, I get kind of excited when I see a roadmap. Anyone else get excited about roadmaps? Because that means the game's going to get supported. Because I'm looking forward to more skins in 2017, when I haven't played the game for 6 to 9 months. Probably never will again. Now, is that really going to get you to want to play the game? Are you going to want to buy it now? I mean, okay, how many people are old like me and can't play multiplayer first-person shooters anymore? Headshot, dead. Headshot, dead. Headshot, dead. Headshot, dead. 14-year-olds completely destroy my love of first-person shooters. And I used to run Wireplay, the online gaming service, back in 98, 99. I used to play regularly with some of the best first-person shooter players in the country. I used to be pretty damn good. Not great. I wasn't in their league. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to pretend skills I don't have. But I wasn't bad. Nowadays, I'm old and slow. So anyway, this isn't just me talking randomly. Now, I'm cheating a tiny bit, and you'll see why in the next slide. Software sales for this generation ain't looking so good. Now, this is a cheat because, if you look at the next slide, which includes, takes Nintendo out. So remember Wii kind of confuses all the data. It's okay, but even if you would take the Nintendo stuff out, that doesn't look hugely promising to me because I think the curve has slowed. At the very least, my hypothesis is things have slowed. And let's face it, when we start seeing so many great studios going down, I'm not surprised to see that. Then you see this thing. Casual games, kind of dead. Crossover games, okay, that's not too bad. Core games, actually not doing too bad. That's an interesting thing. So perhaps console AAA isn't dead, but it's becoming rarefied. We're closing the genres that we're playing on our console. We're choosing only certain types of experience. And then look at this. That curve of the 7th generation and the curve of the 8th generation, it's already closing down. And then look at the Steam. More games on Steam released in the last year than the last, I'm guessing about 4 years? I heard 3 previously, but looking at that chart, it looks like about 4 years. So we're in interesting times. Now, then you think about mobile, and actually I couldn't find the graph. There's a girl on the internet called Indie Game Girl. She's a great marketing person. She did a great talk in similar vein. She had a great chart that showed how much mobile content dwarfs this kind of console and PC stuff. 450 games released on average every single day last year. Now, I'm not saying that's a good thing. That's saturation. That's basically an infinite supply of games. I have more content out there than I could possibly play in my lifetime. Do you know what the median revenue for that, for a game on iOS is? The median, not the average, the median. No, the median, so the middle game. $400 lifetime value for the game. That's worth it. Average cost of development, $25,000. Yay! We want to make games? Oh, by the way, I won't go into that because I could go on to that for ages. But even if you look at console, let's go back to console. Console is dead. This is the argument. Console is dead. Why is console dead? Because console's not console anymore. Console is digital. Actually, the really interesting thing is it's not about the box anymore. It's not about that physical thing with a silver shiny thing in the middle of it. It's about the services. How could you enjoy Uncharted fully without an internet connection? You can't. Digital distribution is what it's all about. So I'd say console is dead. Digital distribution is alive. Look at the number of games, number of publishers, but the number of games per publisher. It's going down. We're having a rarefied atmosphere. Anyway, this is kind of interesting stuff. These charts were from EDAR. This is a forecast from Newzoo. There's a whole bunch of internet data you can get. It's really hard to find sometimes. You often have to go look at the blogs because they're not really well shown on the browsers. But if you look at this, you think, hang on a minute. It's growing, great, but where's it growing? Basically mobile. It's kind of shrinking TV console. It's kind of staying the same, if not shrinking, in PC. Kind of slightly growing in tablet. But mobile and tablet's really where things are. So obviously, mobile wins, doesn't it? You've got games like this. Anyone playing this? Really? Oh my goodness, seriously. I mean, there are 2 games I would say you have to go play. I'm almost suggesting go now, but don't because there's beer here. Crossy Road and Clash Royale. Because they are masterclasses of game design. They're actually really good games. They are genuinely clever. And they're not just clever because of the game mechanics, which are clever and enjoyable. Notice I say enjoyable. How many people like free-to-play games, by the way? So a few. How many hate free-to-play games? Oh, I normally get you. I know you hate them. Why was your hand not up earlier saying I hate them? They're evil. You're right. As if I'd never met you before. Anyway, so the point is that there are some games. Honestly, these are good games. They are genuinely good games. And I found that as I've been playing more and more Clash Royale, I've actually got more into it. And I found the nuances of the game design, the subtlety of timing, the subtlety of which unit against which. There's actually a lot of strategy in there, which you only discover through repeated play. There's a whole bunch of crazy stuff in there. I've only spent about $15. £50, sorry, £15. Yeah.
Want to admit that they spent more?
I'm probably going to spend more than £15, but I haven't yet. I mean, this is the thing, with my kind of job, I'm trying to think about what it's like to be a real spender, so I don't claim expenses on the things I spend on, because you couldn't actually tell your behaviour if you actually claimed it back. It wouldn't be a good test, which is stupid. I mean, I'm never going to make money in my life because I'm stupid like that, but I want to know. I really want to know, and that's why I spend small amounts, because, frankly, I'm poor. No, I'm not poor, but I'm not that well off. But I'm not motivated like that way. I don't want to be sat there thinking I'm being drained of money and resources.
But then you're not a consumer.
But I am. I consumed.
No, but yeah, but
I genuinely consumed, and I consumed in a natural state as a player. I chose to adopt my player mode, not my analyst mode, but I used my analyst mode to observe my player mode, if that makes sense. I have a very compartmentalized brain. That's why you have a hat. That's why your hats help. My favourite mechanic. This is my favourite mechanic. It's ridiculous because it's evil, and I like a little bit of evil monetization. I've earned my treasure chest. It's mine, but I can't open it for a certain period of time. I don't kind of mind that, although it does feel a bit long. But I have to come back because I've already earned it. That's mine. And I don't resent it like I used to resent fuel, because this is my treasure chest. All the goodies in there are mine already. I don't have to earn them anymore. They're there. They're waiting for me to reveal them. That's a really interesting mindset. Anyway, I can go on for hours on that, and that wasn't the point of this. This whole idea of actually, hang on a minute, we've got a mobile game that looks visually interesting enough to want to watch. And you might not think it's that interesting to watch, but it's a MOBA that is so simple to play that I know what the hell's going on. Anyone watch League of Legends? Could you please explain to me how the hell you know what's going on? Genuinely, I'd love to. I just want to watch it. I remember being one of the first sponsors of kind of cyber sports back in like 99. I'm lost. I want to enjoy it. I want to know what's going on. But then you look at these guys. These guys are making more money than most of those console developers in a tiny little game. Did you have to set up the screen size on your Clash of Clans game? Did you have to press X 15,000 times to get the game started? Anyone? They know what they're doing. I know Wilco quite well. He introduced me on stage a while ago when he invited me to speak at the Supercell event, and I won't bore you with the story, but one of the things I remember him saying, when he came out of a talk at GDC, he'd just come off Gunshine, which was an abject failure. Anyone remember Gunshine? See, I'm old, I remember these things. And he was really broken. And he said that, we're going to move to tablet. The reason we're going to move to tablet is because tablet allows us to create a constrained experience, and we can actually have a tactile behavior response with the player. Think about that. Actually, they have a connection, a physical connection with me through play. And that's the way these guys think. They're not thinking about analytics. They're not thinking about kind of monetization, although they do all those things. Ilka's primary driver is, I want to make great games that people love. Don't see enough of that. I know Phil thinks about that as well, but there are a lot of publishers that don't you just want to make money? Well, you seem to. I'm just, go for it, yeah. Anyway, so Also things like App Store featuring doesn't seem to have much effect. I'm not sure I believe this one. This is Flurry. Flurry was saying that the share of use. Oh, yeah. So this was actually showing, one of these things, I was about midnight last night when I was working out what I was going to say, and I saw this chart. I thought it was interesting. The median impact of featuring on daily downloads from an iPhone. And in South Korea, still massively successful, massively impactful. Brazil, yeah, pretty impactful. Japan now starts getting that back to UK. And it's not actually that significant in terms of impact on sales, downloads, sorry.
Yeah, downloads for Clash Royale or downloads for...
No, this was every game, median of games in general.
Okay.
It wasn't just a Clash issue. Really?
Yeah.
So you still see a big impact?
Massive.
Yeah, so
For example, we went on a third in the downloads of Gear VR
Yep.
last week,
okay.
and that was because we were featured next to Minecraft.
But that's Gear VR.
That's Gear VR.
I'm wondering if there might be a connection there.
Potentially.
Yeah.
The same with iOS. The last game we released,
Yeah.
as soon as there was some feature, even minor feature,
Mm.
we got significant downloads. As soon as that was gone, nothing.
That's different from the I think of the right word for it now, but the stories I hear from lots of developers is very different from what you're describing. That's great to hear.
Well, no,
That gives us, and it's great to hear that you're having a good experience because then there's hope for us.
yeah, it is, but it's also out of our control.
Sorry, I hate to be a pain,
Yeah.
but Oscar's got a conference call at 8. And,
Yeah.
we've got
I better rush. Okay, so we'll carry on, and I'll come. One of them because I got to talk to VentureBeat at 8, and when I finish with that, I'll come back down. But then, anyway, so there's some questions about whether the growth of mobile use is growing. I'm not sure I believe this chart from Flurry, but they're looking at different sort of types of apps, not just us. This is interesting. It's a bit of a survey that we did at Unity. But I don't want to focus on the ad thing here. I want to focus on the 11% for in-app purchase versus 18% for paid. Think about this, all right? In every other experience you would ever face, if you are in someone's world, like Disney World or whatever, or a pub, the chances of you wanting to buy something in that world, provided you're having a good experience, are pretty high. It's something like a third as expensive to acquire a customer in your experience as out of one. It's a rule of thumb in general. And we're now seeing people are saying, now this is their self-reported response, they're saying that they prefer to pay up front than to pay inside a game. I think that's something quite scary. If we start seeing people actively disliking in-app purchases, what are we selling them? What are we selling them, and why aren't we exciting them? Are we going to get people wanting to buy things inside games? How are we going to make them want to do it again and again? And the evidence, if this is true, is that we're not delighting people, we're not exciting them. They'd much rather buy something they don't know if it's going to be any good or not. I will give you an example of a paid upfront game, and you might remember this. It's a quite old one, and it's a AAA-ish, well, maybe not really AAA, but you know. Anyone remember Duke Nukem Forever? It killed Duke Nukem Forever. But the point of that, and I'm joking around, but think about that. People were willing to do that because they wanted to be part of that brand. If we were in that brand and we had an option to get a great weapon that didn't feel like it broke the game, that would be quite exciting, wouldn't it? We'd want to do that. So clearly we're doing something wrong. I won't bore you with that. There's lots of survey stuff here. In the interest of time, I won't bore you with kind of the sales pitchy stuff. I'm going to talk about this thing, though. There's something that I think we've learned. If you look at the way that the console market is trying to emulate aspects that the mobile has done, and the way that the mobile games teams are trying to increase the quality of experience and up the artistic level, up the kind of experiential moments in games, there's some really cool stuff with that. But the one thing that the mobile stuff has as an advantage is the idea of games as a service. The idea that we can pay attention to the life cycle of a player, that we can actually understand that each player at the different life cycle stages have different needs. And if we do that, then we can look at the discovery stage and work out how we can get people excited and work out what it takes to get them from discovery to downloading the app, or if it's a pay up front game, then why they would pay for it. And then once they're through that stage, how we behave differently to them to ensure that they understand how the controls work, but more importantly, how the game fits into their daily routine. because that matters. Because repeat play and repeat engagement is as good as scale. And scale is what makes these mobile games so successful. If we can then get to the point where we get them through their learning and their frustration of... Okay, let me put it this way. When you first play a game, it's going to be the worst experience you're going to have in that game. Because you don't know the controls. All the things you imagine the game would give you because of the advertising, or something that Peter might have said once upon a time. So, some people know what I mean. Sorry, I can't help it. Love the man, but yes. If you think about all the things that we fill our imagination with the gaps in what we're told, and the moment we play, that's stripped naked. We see the game for all it is, and the bare bones of it. In fact, we don't even see that. We see what the tutorial shows us. And if we have to press X 15 times and change the aspect ratio on a screen, if we're in a free-to-play or a mobile experience, guess what we do? We stop playing. We don't want that to happen. We want you to engage. So we have to hold your hand. We have to get to the point where you're truly engaged. You want to play. You understand how the game fits into your life, and you keep playing. Then you're truly engaged. You have the potential to super engage. You might be the fanboy that wants to spend $1,000 and be happy about it. And as much as you might not think that's a good thing, I've had experiences where people have spent there's a woman in China who spent $35,000 in a silly little city building game, but she was a footballer's wife, and all her friends were footballers' wives, and they all were basically competing for how big their cities were. Their fun, their genuine, and we had this conversation with them, their genuine fun was to outdo each other. And for them, there was no price. There was no limit on that value. I'm not saying you should design your game for those guys. That's how you kill games, because if you hunt whales, you can destroy games. But it's important to understand that there might be super fans. And actually, if somebody wants to buy the Falchion sword of Vorpalness or whatever, then maybe they should be able to. But just don't break the game in the process. And I do a whole bunch of talks on why you have to be careful about that and how you do it properly and without screwing people up. Look at the Unity blog if you're interested. There's a whole piece on design-driven in-app purchase, which helps think about that structurally. Then we have to re-engage people. We think about this as life stages. And then we finally realize that people churn, because as much as we might like to think that people will love our game forever, they won't. I'm sorry. We have to get used to that. People will find other things to play. There are other games out there. I know that seems like a crime, like a betrayal, like some sort of lost love, but get over it. They are going to leave you, but let's leave them with a smile. Let's leave them still wanting to tell their kids how great that game was. And it doesn't have to be just console games that can say that. It can be mobile games too. Maybe you haven't seen that one that will do it, but there's a few for me. And, Tales of Honor is a game I will still tell people how great it was. Carcassonne mobile game, I will still tell people how great it is. I just started playing a game yesterday called Card Crawl. I'll probably be telling people about that in a few weeks' time as well. But the point is, we don't have to be like this. Anyone know what this is? Total War Warhammer. There was a massive Reddit hate fest because they denied access to the Chaos units and only made it available as DLC. And that caused a whole bunch of upset. And obviously, I've mentioned this one already. I sold the punchline. Instead, we want great games that excite, that make you feel good about spending money and not feel terrible, that make you feel like that investment was worthwhile, beneficial, entertaining, and better yet, games that we can get excited about. Oh, what? Who put that there? Yes, I am making a game based on the Rocky Horror Show. It is on Kickstarter. Please back us. I think, have I got time?
You've got 10 minutes till 8 o'clock.
Right, I've got 2 minutes till 8 o'clock. I will take a question or two if I'm not thrown off, if anyone has any. I literally will talk about everything, so you might be scared and intimidated at this point. Anyone? Go on, let me chuck this over at you.
Oh, no,
Okay.
So my experience of choosing to watch an advert over playing a game is I click watch advert and I put my phone upside down on the side and I pick it up when it's done.
That's fine.
So,
But you're not going to click through. As a result, you're not going to get, you're not going to get to discover the game that you might want to play.
Well, no.
Yeah.
So, what is it? There's an a PopCap game where you can shoot things and you can watch adverts to
Yep.
unlock the next level.
Yep.
So I click watch advert,
Yep.
it plays, I put it down, and then I won't click through. What do you think that there'll be an impact significantly on ad revenues once people start incorporating, sort of choosing to watch ads into their game?
What you're describing is a perfectly normal behaviour in every kind of medium of ads. One of the things that makes the game successful with an ad is it gets paid based on how many people will click and install that game. That's the fundamental mechanism. So if that game hasn't got you excited about the reward you're going to get, hasn't incentivized you to want to watch it, and if the ads themselves don't give you something that appeals to you, then the whole ecosystem won't work. But when you're dealing with scale, and that's why I think this is a really important factor, this is why we're not going to see a video ad network at scale in maybe VR just yet. You need vast numbers of people for that kind of mechanism to work. And not everybody will do that. Some people will, absolutely, and that's fine, that's their right, absolutely no problem at all. However, I don't go to app stores anymore, I watch video ads. And maybe I'm going to get a smaller, limited number of games that I'm going to see, but I'm going to probably find out about those games anyway because of the nature of who I am. But I actually find I get more excited about the games which are showing me a great ad, which shows me some great gameplay, and I don't object to that. So, you're one of many people. Yeah. And that's entirely fine, provided we design it well.
It's more talking about, I guess, the disparity you'll see then between some big earner games and then others where you really sort of the YouTube, Twitch or whatever, where you need to be a big money.
But you think about YouTube and Twitch, the same thing happens. You just go and you get a cup of tea while the advert's playing.
Yep.
Or you press the skip button. The really interesting thing is that you do see, with the opt-in ones, there's a much more positive attitude to seeing the ad. I mean, the responses we've seen have been actually brilliant. And like I say, we wouldn't be getting the success we get without actually enough of those people saying, hang on a minute, do you know what? I quite like that. I'm going to download that. So I think it's down to you as a designer to make a great experience for your player, and it's down to the advertiser to make a great creative that allows people to say, oh, hang on a minute, I quite like that. And let's face it, that's advertising. That's the world we're in. We are in a world where every medium, every single medium we have has some form of advertising in it. What we want to do is make sure that we make that less toxic and more entertaining, more valuable. And I genuinely don't like ads, but I do kind of like video ads. And I mean that because when I'm sat there and I can choose, I'll give you an example where I would kill to have a video ad, Dark Souls. Seriously, I would pay thousands of dollars to have a frickin' save point. I would literally watch as many ads as you want to give me for it to say, I don't know it would kill the game, don't get me wrong, I understand, I'm making a joke, but I kind of would. There are definitely times when I would. You had a question there.
Yeah, the thing that I feel that we're sort of avoiding with this, you've discussed the death of console, the death of mobile.
Well, I kind of said they don't, neither really are dying, but they're changing, they're all changing.
They're changing. But the naive, stupid old person in me, and with my young son who's probably going to slack me for being so stupid and saying
I'm
so
watching.
loud,
Should I put money on it?
is that haven't we destroyed games in the process? Haven't we destroyed, but are the games that are coming out now less satisfying, less engrossing, less engaging than the games that we made when we were making fully paid games? Now,
Yes.
Crash Bandicoot is a great game, but so is Clash Royale. They are different games for different modes and different moods of play.
yeah,
And that's the really interesting thing.
same type of experiences.
I think they do, I think that's wrong.
That's like the same as when we had 2 TV channels or 3 TV channels, and then suddenly you've got a massive influx of cable and saying that TV and TV programming has gone massively downhill because of the influx of...
I
That's the
stopped
same kind
watching
of
TV
argument.
after moving to America and seeing too many ads, and I went only back to it once.
But there's still incredible programs being made, incredible
Yeah, I
dramas
bought them on DVD.
being made, but it doesn't, the art of it all continues.
The only answer to that is I've got to give you a sticker to say thank you, because I agree with you entirely. Sorry, that was just another... I have plenty of stickers if anyone wants a sticker of the Rocket Horror game. Anyway, I don't mean to shut that off, it's just because I know there's only a couple of minutes left. The point there is incredibly important. We have a change in the dynamics, we have a change in the supply nature. We didn't choose this, Apple did. Apple chose this in 2008 when I was, I'd stopped running an operator at that point, but they chose not to do what the operators used to do. And from what I understand, it was because they didn't have the in-house resources to be able to manage an app store in the same way operators had done. And so they thought, well, let's do it in a more efficient way. Let's do it so there's a simple set of rules and everyone has to follow that. If they don't follow it, they're out. And as a result, there's no gatekeeper. Because there's no gatekeeper, the gatekeeper is our social access or people like us who are doing advertising networks. So the question is really, how do we actually get found? And then what effect does that have on the maturity, the intellectual content, the variety? And I will probably judge this year about 2,000 games over various competitions and events and things like that. There is no decline in quality of content. There is a much deeper and wider range than there ever has been. You're not going to see quite so many Uncharted's because they cost how many? Anyone know what Uncharted cost? 400 billion, or I know I'm joking, but it's some ridiculous, I want to do the Dr. Evil, $4 billion. Was it less than Tomb Raider? But the point is that, really, less than Tomb Raider? That's amazing. I'm going to go make one now. Oh, wait. Anyone got a couple of billion to spare? I can make an amazing free-to-play Skyrim if anyone wants to give me $1 billion. But the point is, there's no limit. In fact, the challenge being discovered is, I believe, Darwinian. I think in the end, and it's going to take some time, and we're going to see some bad games and some good games, we are currently in the clone syndrome. We're at that evolutionary stage where this new ecosystem is being filled with different variations, and they're going to cannibalize each other. Eventually, we'll end up with more choice, more variety, because we're not just making games for the 8% of the population who like first-person shooters anymore, who, by the way, were like 98% male. I'm exaggerating slightly for effect, but I think, if you think about it, looking at the room, we're still not there yet, but we're a lot better off than we were, say, 5 years ago in terms of the proportion of gender in this room. And that's an important thing to remember. And I don't think that would happen if we weren't doing mobile, because mobile's forced us to realize there's an audience out there who will have just as much interest in games as us old, fat, white guys with, first-person controller sticks in their lofts. I genuinely do have old controllers for first-person shooters. That's very sad. Go on. I think it's going to have to be the last one, though.
Quick one. Can you see mobile games, the decline you're talking about, moving on to console?
Already have. In many cases, there have been lots of games. Obviously, we're talking about more PlayStation Plus style console experiences. But where would you put something like... I'm a massive fan of Don't Starve, which I think plays really well as a tablet game, although it came as Steam originally. It's now on console as well. And you think about those kind of games, or FTL, there are these really kind of simple nuggets of play. And I think there's actually a much more interesting question. And not that your question's not interesting, by the way. Just, it makes me think wider. You see how I did that? It's good, isn't it? Had to warm up an audience. But if you think about it, the interesting question for me is, think about all of the modes of use of all of the devices we've got which are capable of playing games. And think how that matches to people's different moments of their daily routine. The behavior on a watch, I normally wear a smartwatch, but for some reason I didn't wear it today, is about a second, and it's like, done. And then I'll come back a bit later, done. You can't do anything more than that, really, because that's the natural experience of a watch. And then you think about a phone, it's like 1 minute, 3 minutes kind of play. I might play on my phone for 20, 30 minutes, but if I can't break out of that experience and that mode of use, I'm probably not going to choose it next. 7-inch tablet is different from a 10-inch tablet, would you believe? Because I can use it one-handed for extended periods of time. Whereas, so I can hold it, 10-inch tablet is just a little bit too heavy for most people to hold for any length of time, so you've got to put it down on a table like a Starbucks or something. So you find these different moments, places, times, experiences, each of which has an effect on my willingness and my degree of intensity and my joy that I'm after at that particular time, what I expect from it, and the behavior I'll have in terms of returning to it. I think about this shit a lot. But that's where I think we come back to that question about quality and interest of content. Because if we're not seeing the games that grab our attention, like the Counter-Strikes, like the Marios, although I was never a fan personally, like, you know, elites of this world. We want to see those kind of games really change. And games that are new, that can really do something exciting, that changes the way we think about what games are about. Things like Her Story, completely changing the way we think about how we engage in a game. Now's the time. Now we have the devices, we have the technology. Yes, there's several engines in this room. You know, I'm unbiased. Like I say, if I ever said nasty things about Epic, Mark Ray would kill me. I've known him for about 18 years, it's ridiculous. But you think about these kind of things. It's crazy how much opportunity there is now. But you got to fight for it because it's not easy. Thank you.